All right. Anthony, Brian, Doyle, Murphy, DeVito. Thank you.
No one ever says my full name. Thanks, Collin.
Of course. Why want people to be able to find you?
I appreciate it.
Before we get into it, you have a special that's coming out, and we couldn't do it by hours, but it is days. It's going to be out any day now, and tell people about it real quick up top.
May 26th. I don't know what everybody out there is doing on May 26th, but cancel your plans. Send Nana back to the nursing home. My special is coming out, Brain Noise, May 26th on my YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/DeVito Anthony, or follow me on Instagram at comedian Anthony DeVito. 40 minutes, new jokes for all you Anthony, James, Brian, Doyle, DeVito, Murphy fans out there.
Yes, and that's so good because you don't meet a lot of comedians with long names like that, and it's such an old show business thing that I love.
Totally.
People are raving about it. The early reviews of the special are that people love it.
Vaudeville Magazine gave it 4 gilded canes.
Wow. I mean, folks, do you need any more? If you're still listening to this, what are you doing? I know personally in our circles here in New York, people are saying, if you like Gallagher, this is it. This is. And I haven't gotten the screener yet. I was supposed to get one, I think, but people are saying it's physical, it's loud, it's bold.
Yeah. I've heard the words abrasive. I've heard the words grating. It reminds me of the parrot from Aladdin. I have a lot of Gilbert Gottfried comparisons. Some people have thrown Michael Richards at his lowest moment in the mix.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. So we're talking like 9th season of Seinfeld low. Wow. That is,
that's what people say. Yeah.
No. I don't know him. I sort of stopped following his career after the 9th season of Seinfeld. So if he did something else, I'm not aware.
Me neither. They just say the words. I don't look up what they're telling me.
It's always funny when I feel like there are comics like that, like newer comics be like, I just love I just thought Kramer was really funny. It's like, have you not read any papers, the last couple of years?
Man, boy, I hate to rain on your parade, but he did something post Kramer that look, it's either you're gonna love or you're gonna hate. There will be no in between with this.
It's funny because I feel like there is now a market post COVID, Mike Huckabee show, late night stuff. You could sell,
Totally, man.
If I saw Michael Richards and Jim Brewer on the same poster, that is gonna sell some tickets.
Yes. If you want to go a certain route and just lean in there, man, there's not a ton of people in that space. And not a ton of people doing it at a high level. So, man, off to the races you go. Be at the RNC, whatever.
And I have some friends that were in a Young Republicans club when I was in college. I wasn't involved, but I'm going to see, because I think you're so funny and we're friends, I'm going to see what I can do to get your special played at the next RNC.
Thank you, man.
Will pull whatever strings I have. I haven't talked to these folks in a while. But the problem is when you call their house, first of all, they all have landlines still. And it's it's usually the wife answers, and so it's hard to get through. Yeah. But I'm going to do my best. But you're fresh off of when you
call and some boy picks up the phone and you go, oh, can I talk to your father? And they go, that's not my father. And you go, oh, I see what this is.
I haven't seen my dad in years.
I'm being held captive. They make me wear these funny masks.
I shouldn't be talking to you right now.
I don't know why I divulge so much. I just haven't heard an outside voice in years.
Oh, it's fun. We're having fun. This really has turned into a real Pizzagate level podcast here.
That's my goal every time I go. If we can reach the heights of Pizzagate, then we have done it.
Yeah, in the opening 5 minutes, we're in. when did you record the special?
Oh yeah, you want to talk about a hell gig? Oh man, it hit me as we were talking in the beginning. We're like, well, we'll just talk about whatever shows happened post-pandemic, and I was like, what are the worst shows I did post-pandemic? And they're like, oh, when I recorded my special, far and away, those are the worst ones. Easily.
So well.
Oh, great. If the amount of added laughs on this thing, it's atrocious. What did it go well? Yeah, no, I had maybe the gall and the foresight to record on Halloween weekend. Great move. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'll tell you. So I was going to record at Acme Comedy Club in Minneapolis, one of the best clubs in the country. It's probably my favorite club to be at. I've been there like 5 or 6 times. It's always a smash, like really, really difficult to make something go wrong there. So the weekend that they had was Halloween weekend, and I was like, Acme can withstand Halloween weekend. That'll be fine. and then I got there, and it was like, no comedy club can withstand, unless you have your fans. Right. No one is picking you over Halloween. It doesn't matter the city. So everybody that was like cool and young, they were all like, yeah, we're gonna party on Halloween. And everybody that was just like left over came to the club. It was definitely like people's first time seeing comedy. Man, in the beginning, you want to come out. I've only done like 1 album and 1 special. And when you come out, it's like raucous applause. This is your night. If this is the night to like juice the audience and have whoever, you want in your corner there, this is the time for that. Everyone excuses it. Man, I came out, I was like, so excited. I was like, man, you guys ready? I'm gonna record an album and a special with you guys. They could not be less interested. Oh man, it was horrible. It was like the energy that I have to give. When like you do shows on the road and you're like, man, this crowd is so, not that they're so bad, but they're like, they're so lethargic that I have to perform in a way that's not me. But I'm outside of New York City. No one's watching me here. I can be a little not who I am just to survive for these animals. That's what it was like. You want to be in the pocket for your special. I was not in the pocket.
That is so thrilling. That is so exciting. And what a sell.
Right. Look, man, this director, this editor, Jason Katz, man, he cobbled the thing together. It looks presentable for sure.
Right. Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be great because you're a great comic and people do love you. And of course, but it is
not after this, Collin. Not after this.
It's just somebody with like a Batman mask on in the back. They're like, is that what in the world? Like what?
Yep. Why is Wonder Woman blowing Aquaman in the back?
Right.
I would have preferred that. I wish that happened. That didn't happen. It was all the people that were too boring for Halloween.
Those are the people you want. The people that are too boring to go and have fun. That comedy was the more tame option. Yeah.
And this is no disservice. The club is amazing. Like the club is incredible. There's no disservice to the club. It's just happened to be, that's like the worst weekend. Every single comic, like older comic that I talked to, because they would all ask about the recording, and I would just go, yeah, man, taping on Halloween weekend. They were like, can you get another date? Or is that like how set in stone is that?
We got parts moving already.
No, man. But like it definitely, if you watch it, you wouldn't, there's so many like strings pulled behind the scenes to make it look like it was like I was having a great time and it was going well and the audience liked me. You'll never really know, but I have to tell you, obviously.
Of course, yeah. It's so funny. You make a great point of like, you want this is it. Like when we watch specials, you watch these people go crazy and
it's not real.
It's not real.
The one night you're allowed to not be, it's so forced. In fact, I mean,
since you've opened up, I have no problem saying this. Like when I did mine, we did 4 shows, and I'm glad in the long run I did 4 shows because it is so pieced together and it's
Yes.
cobbled together, right? Because the first show that the sound doesn't work, and then half of the shows it was raining and you could hear the rain on the roof, right? So like you're glad you do 4. But dude, I was like, I did it in my hometown. I go, well, we're probably gonna like, I don't know if we'll have to add a show or we're gonna have to like get an ordinance so we can get more people.
We might have to move to a theater. Yeah.
We would have sold out maybe a show, and you think that this is gonna be the biggest thing, and the most humbling, disheartening, back to reality thing was it was the last show of I did Wednesday and Thursday, which are prime nights for comedy, and
Wednesday night, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. That's great, man.
7 to 9:30. So Thursday, the last show, and
known party night Wednesday at 9:30. Why didn't you just do Saturday at 11 a.m. Rival church?
It would have been better if we just did have people come on their lunch breaks. I'm telling you, it would have been better. It would have been easier to get people to come on their lunch breaks.
Yeah, man.
And
we're doing it at the Whole Foods cafeteria at 3:30 p.m.
This guy comes up to me after. He's sitting in the front row the whole time. I'm so happy to be done. He comes up to me after. He goes, "So what is this? Like, you taping something?"
Oh man, I know.
This guy doesn't even know. He didn't know me. He just went to a show that I just happened to be recording my 8+ years of my career's work on. And he's like, "What is this?" I was like, "Dude, I don't know. I don't even know."
Yeah, honestly, that's a great question. You cut to the core of me with that question. What is this is right?
Yeah, I'll be honest, dude. When I find out, I will let you know.
Yeah.
But oh my God, it was so tough. But then it's funny, like you do come off of that. When you came out of that, you did on a weekend. So we come out of that weekend. How did you feel after? Are you relieved? Are you anxious? What's the feeling?
I was relieved, confused. I was definitely like, I was a little like kicking myself for being like, man, what's wrong with you? Like, why didn't, like the first album, I took so much care in terms of like, I did it at a place that was like meaningful to me. I had my best friends open up, like everything was so cared for. And I got so reckless with this album and special. And I don't really know why. I just like was like, oh, okay, like you don't have to, you can just do a night on the road and it'll be fine. And it's like, no, you have to put unless you have your fans that are there for you and every night feels like an album or a special recording for the most part, even then you have to take like real time with it. But so I was kind of kicking myself a little bit. I was confused as to how that all just kind of happened. I'm relieved obviously that it was over, and I was like, I think enough is there to put something together. A part of me was excited because I was like, I don't normally perform sort of that high energy and that like fast. So I was like, I wonder what that even looks like.
Right. So it's 8 minutes. The special is 8 minutes long.
It really is, man. It's like, I think I timed it out, because you're doing all kinds of long sets leading up to it. So it timed out to be like 45 to like 48 minutes, but the footage is 40 minutes long.
Right.
So those 8 minutes are gone, just because I sped through them. But then looking back on the footage, and dude, I forgot to bring a water up there with me. So like at one point my mouth gets so dry because I was so worried about bringing the water up for consistency. There's a white dot lingering by my lips at one point. And you shoot everything in 4K, so it's like you could see it clear as day. I'm wearing this Hawaiian shirt the whole time. I have this like white spittle by my mouth. Like if you watch it and I'm going fast, you'd be like, oh, this guy recorded a special on like copious amounts of cocaine. It just looks insane.
But so you like old people's old people spittle in the corner of your mouth.
Right there in the corner of my mouth.
Right.
From minute 28 to minute 33, man, it's tough to not watch that spittle just sit there on my lips.
Right. Yeah,
resting.
that's fun.
Yeah.
That's a little Easter egg for the diehards. You know?
Yeah.
That'll be on Patreon in a month. Just a conversation with you and your spittle. Hey guys, we got him. We got the spittle from the DeVito's.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell it.
Yeah. That's an NFT. That's exciting. Well, so I know I talked to you when I finished mine. We were at a show or something, and I felt like I did not know that this would happen, and maybe it's different with the first one or second one, I don't know. But I was so, I think, caught up in the anxiety and like the confusion and everything's moving so fast of recording it and trying to get tickets out, that it's almost all that stress almost is comforting, and because it. And then it ends. And I mean, it was truly like, I was sitting at the club the minute it's over and just sort of thinking like, well, I don't know what else to do. Like, I don't have anything else. And then for a couple weeks, I feel like I was just so down, Did you have that now? Did you have that on your first one?
I kind of learned from the first one to sort of have like 5 to 10 minutes, at least 5, that you're working on for the next thing. So you already have a jump start on it and you have something to be excited about, just material wise. So I probably had like about 5 minutes that I was just doing at bar shows like around New York that like wasn't fully developed, that I was like, oh, cool. When this is over, I get to work on the next thing. And I already know what some of the words for that next thing might be. So it didn't seem as like daunting and like disillusioned, but I know what you mean. Like, because the first one, I had this just feeling of complete emptiness where, like you put everything, years of work, and then you're like months of work in terms of promoting and like stressing about the actual special itself, that once it ends, you're like, oh, I have absolutely like nothing. I don't even know that I'm a comedian anymore. I just gave everything away. So I kind of at least had this like little chunk to be like, oh, this is what I'm working on for the next thing, just to avoid that feeling of sort of loneliness,
despair. I feel like you I think you have a bit of a sort of a good reputation of, you seem to be someone that handles the sort of the stress and anxiety, maybe not, but you certainly do a good job of showing, if not, of this business very well. Like, and I feel like people that I talk to and people that know you all sort of point back to you like, well, Anthony's almost this sort of Zen quality about you. What is, one, is that true? And two is, if it is, how do you operate that?
It's somewhat true. I will say I think I keep people around me. The people closest to me are more stressed and more anxiety ridden than me. So usually I'm there for them. So that keeps me in a place of calm, because I need to be calm because they're so stressed out. And I think I do that purposely as like a tactic to keep myself like more even keel. I think you just go, you kind of see the long game with it, like you look at people's careers and you see like sometimes how long it takes for like people to jump off. And I've always found that to be very calming, you know what I mean? Like, where I guess like maybe you like use Gary Goldman as an example, who's like been so funny for so long, and comics have known that for so long. And like, he's had a fan base as he's grown, but then he did that HBO special, The Great Depression, and it was super personal. And it opened him up to a whole new legion of fans. And like now he's doing theaters, and like this was all like 20-25 years, maybe even 30 in the making. So I've always been comforted by the fact that like, if you're really in this, like you're probably going to be doing this for a long time. So like, you don't have to get too worked up in the beginning, even though it feels like you should, because like people are getting things at like a rapid pace and things like that. But I've also seen like those things go away for people. So yeah, I think I've kept more of an even head with just being like, man, I'm gonna be like, to get stressed out along the way. Obviously, you want to in certain moments because that means you care, but to really let that become who you are in that moment isn't worth it, because like in 8 years, man, you're not even gonna remember like why you were so upset. And especially too, you look back on shows, you're like, man, 12 years later, you're like, man, am I really like I punched a hole through drywall because I had to get a part in Guy Code. Do you know how stupid
Right.
that sentence sounds now? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right.
so yeah, that's what I would say is just like look at things as a whole, and I think that helps.
Yeah, it's I I've tried to be better at it. I think it's all just a work in progress, but you do see people that are really tightly wound, and you go, my God, like how are you gonna literally how are you gonna survive in
Totally,
this
man.
another year?
Yeah,
Like you are such a tense ball of energy,
yeah.
with nowhere to put it.
Yeah, and comedy thing is a thing too, where like you chose to do this. You know what I mean? It's not
Right.
like where you were in the family bit. No one is forcing you to do comedy.
Right.
So it's like you've chosen this life, and this is your life, and these are the moments in your life. So you, in some ways, get to decide whether or not you're going to enjoy this moment. And this is what you're doing, and you've decided to do. So you might as well at your best try to make this as stress-free as possible. I mean, obviously, like stress happens and anxiety happens and you can't control those things, but
Right.
like I think remembering that this is ultimately your decision. Nobody has ever been forced to do comedy. We all broke from something else to do this.
Yeah, that's true. I always think like there's anytime I think like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why continue with this? I just sort of think about like the last day I worked in like an office or a
Yeah.
building, and I'm just
Yes.
like, and I think, and God love my friends that work the 9 to 5 jobs,
Totally.
golf on the weekends. They seem to have their life figured out. But if I had to do that every week, I would walk in with a machete. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
last, like,
Yep.
so that's a great point of that you chose this because you don't want to do anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. And the anything else will always be there. So
Right.
if one day you go, the stress of this, like, because like, I mean, I get stressed out about money. That's really what stresses me out in terms of like, I have responsibilities to other people and then also to myself. And like, as you get older, you want you want nicer things.
Right. Right.
And not talking about like nicer things like a boat. I'm talking about like nicer things like a drying rack. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like,
Exactly.
I'm not
Yeah.
asking for much. I'm
Right.
asking for what like, any well beyond the means of like a 39-year-old should be asking for, that I
Yeah.
would put on like a wedding registry. But
Right.
but you can always like, if you can just go back there. So like it's not bad ultimately. Like if you're really stressed, if things aren't working out, this or that, it's like, yeah, man, just work at Home Depot for a little bit and like figure the rest out.
Right.
Yeah.
There really should be, because comics live such different lifestyles than sort of those other people. There needs to be sort of a registry, maybe when you hit 30 or 35, where you go, I'm not getting married or I don't have children,
It's great.
but
Great
if
idea.
I did, this would be the time of my life. So
Right.
here is a list of things that
Yeah.
you should all buy me, because
Right.
you don't have to go get a suit, you don't have to commute anywhere. Just
Great.
buy me, like, just go on this list. I got 50 things on this list that I really need, would improve my life.
Yeah.
You should
Yeah.
buy them,
You should buy
you
it. And
know?
I don't, and I need these more than they have love. I don't have
Right.
that. So give me a
Exactly.
toaster. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Dude, I literally looked, this is so embarrassing but true. I looked at a pair of shoes. Yeah, I have a pair of shoes in my car right now. And I looked at them and I go, will these last another sort of season of comedy in New York?
Yeah.
I justified keeping these shoes of like, I can't wear them on stage maybe to a nice show, but I could wear them to like a bar show. And it's like, what are we talking about? $60? Are we talking about $60 of liquid income that you would spend on not like a pair of like Yeezys. We're talking about a pair of New Balance double wide shoes. You know?
Yeah, like, man. These are
$60.
Nursing shoes that you're just like you have a headache over. Yeah, I know, man. It really is crazy, dude.
Shoes that they would give you if you were committed somewhere. You know, like that's the kind of shoes we're talking about.
Right. These are orthopedic. You'd be like, oh, those are medical shoes. And you're like, oh man, I don't know what to do about these shoes.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's so funny and so true. Like just this sense, you know, you said it, like, we're not talking about like a boat, right? We're talking about a quality of life that to most people would be like, that seems fine. You know?
Most people would go, of course. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's stuff that you would just go, yeah, of course. They would be like, oh yeah, I think I own that. I bought that thing 12 years ago. I bought the thing you want in your 40s in my 20s, and I don't even remember that I bought it. Yes,
exactly. You know, and you just sort of make all of these sacrifices or concessions that like, well, I don't have this because I do that. And it's like, what? But do you find, and this is sort of a little bit off the topic, but I think it's important, you know, everything right now is going up and up and up, like price and flights. My God, I don't know when the last time you had to get on a plane for a show, but it's like, it's insane. It's insane. But it's so funny, like feature pay is still the same. Headline pay is still the same. And where do you think this, I mean, is this just a thing of like, well, this is it. The margins become tighter, or is it like, it's gonna have to transition into either more pay or there's no more of this?
Well, yeah, I think at some point, I mean, if inflation keeps going or reaches like a point where it's like, well, these are just the prices now.
Yeah.
I think comedians will look at what you're saying where it's like, well, then our price has to go up. I just think it hasn't been around long enough or proven itself to be like, this is the norm now for comedians to sort of justify like, okay, we're going to go on strike unless we get more fair wages for our work. I think it just hasn't gotten there yet, but that has happened in the past, at least with New York comedy, with like comics forming unions to get pay increases for like weekend spot pay and stuff like that. So I do think something like that could happen. I just think that like the longevity of inflation hasn't quite got there yet.
Yeah, that's a good point. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen it stick around long enough to really justify a change, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, if it does, then definitely. Just because like what you're saying, where it's like, man, we're out there traveling and working, and we're feeling the effects of inflation without reaping any of the benefits in our own wages. So I think if that continues at this pace, like that'll come to a head for sure. Right.
What as you're getting ready to do the album, you know, and the special, like you said, you're doing these longer sets. I always find it fun, like right before you tape something or you're submitting something, like it feels so risky because you go, if one of these things goes bad, do I just spiral and think that all of this is not good? So did you have any long sets that like didn't go well as you were getting ready to record?
Yeah, I had I think I had one in Cincinnati that just went okay. You know, it was just like a kind of like joke to joke set where I for a brief moment was like, oh, is this material ready? But I had done enough of them in New York and other places where I felt like, oh, that set's an outlier compared to the other ones. And you know, when you do a joke in a certain environment where like maybe everybody else on the show isn't really doing well, and then you do really well with the material, and that's when you kind of go like, oh, this is now ready. And if I keep sitting on it, I'm actually doing a disservice to myself.
Yeah.
So like, you know, that being said, like, I mean, I know, like we were saying, you know, I was joking around about all like the stuff that went like wrong, like with the special, like the material is, you know, I stand by it, you know what I mean?
Right.
I stand by the material, and it does look good for all these things that went wrong. But I tried to not get in my head, and I tried to block out the voice that was like, this isn't ready after that one set, and go back to like all the other recordings that were like, no, this is definitely ready, and now's the time to sort of put it on wax or whatever.
Right. There is a fear. I felt it. I don't know if you felt it, where my biggest fear was, I don't want people to listen to this and go, why did he do this now? You
Right.
know, and you just get to a point, I guess, where you just got to go, hey, it's happening. It's just, it's in motion.
I think so. And I think the pandemic helped a little bit with that, because like it created even more of a gap of like a year and a half of space where I was like, I almost felt like, man, I've been saying this now for a year and a half longer than I probably would have. You know, I would have probably, if the pandemic never happened, I would have recorded this album probably a year before. So like this created another year of me saying these jokes that I would have stopped saying. So I was like, I felt this like real need to get the material out just for my own sake, to get past it, to move on to other things.
Right. Yeah. And it's a freeing thing once you get past sort of the recording process, and then sort of
It's
that,
the best.
okay, it's so exciting. Once you get something that's new and good, you're like, oh man, this is so fun. You know,
it's so fun. And I would have these like couple minutes of material that I was working on, you know, for like 8-minute, 10-minute spots at bar shows, or like just like club spots in New York. But then I had this like open space in sets. So it was like, oh man, I could just have fun in that area. And then I have other things to go back to that weren't on the album or special that I'm still having a good time saying. But it always happens, like the minute you record the next set you do, and if you do those jokes that were on the album or the special, you immediately start cutting out fat that you're like, why was that line there? You come up with a tag and you're like, gee, like, do I re-record the whole thing for one tag?
Right.
But I think doing it the second time, I was like, oh, this is just what happens. You know, like either you're so locked in about something and you're finally like, you put it to bed, and then you go like, oh, I can breathe with this material now. And then naturally a new line comes up, and you can't beat yourself up over that line. It's just like, that's something inside your bones that just sort of happens, that you just have to accept.
Right. I think that's a great way of looking at recording things, and just sort of this in general, doing comedy. It's just, listen, it's going to happen, and you have to accept this, and it's okay. And you will always find it funny. Hopefully you always find funnier jokes. That's the point, you know?
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
And I think even like, with doing the weekend, and like knowing as the weekend was going along with the special taping, and just kind of laughing at the situation and being like, man, if this can work under these conditions, then I feel pretty good. Like not so much the material, but like if we can get a special out of what this weekend was, then I know that I can pull a special or an album out of maybe any situation.
Right.
Which is like a comforting feeling.
Yeah. The special comes out this weekend, right?
This Thursday, May 26th. Premieres
tomorrow.
8 p.m.
It'll come out when you're listening to this. It'll come out tomorrow.
Oh, awesome, man.
Yes.
So yeah, it's going to premiere 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can watch it when it comes out. And it's called Brain Noise, and that's really it. And they can find you on Instagram, Twitter. Find me on Instagram and TikTok at comedian Anthony DeVito, and at Twitter at Anthony DeVito _. I love it. Well, it's going to be great. Thank you, buddy, for doing this, and congratulations on the special. Thanks, Colin.